Evan Brooks leaned back in his chair and rubbed his tired eyes. Horizon Relay had been quiet for weeks, and the silence was almost comforting. Space was supposed to be full of signals, chatter, and occasional mysteries, but lately, everything felt empty. He glanced at the glowing monitors in front of him, the blinking lights reflecting off his tired face. Next to him, Lily Carter, the systems engineer, adjusted a few settings on her console with calm precision. She had been working on signal analysis for nearly 6 years, and nothing seemed to escape her sharp mind. "Evan, look at this," Lily said quietly, pointing at a series of irregular pulses on her screen. The pattern was strange. Unlike anything they had seen before, it wasn't the usual radio bursts from distant satellites or the normal static from the outer rim of the galaxy. These signals had emotion embedded in them, if one could call it that. There was a sense of fear, urgency, and even desperation. Evan leaned closer. "That's odd. I've never seen anything like it. Can you translate it?" "Can you translate it?" "I've tried," Lily replied, her brow furrowing. "It's not any known language, but it's definitely intelligent. Someone or something is trying to communicate." Evan felt a chill run down his spine. Space was big, dangerous, and mostly empty. And yet here was a voice from somewhere out there calling for help. He glanced at the chronometer on the wall. The signal had been repeating for hours, and with each repetition, it seemed more urgent. "Should we alert command?" Evan asked. "Or maybe it's some kind of automated distress beacon." Lily shook her head. "No, this isn't a beacon. Beacons are structured, programmed. This feels alive. Someone is alive out there and in trouble." Evan tapped his fingers on the console. The usual hesitation that came with human caution rose in his mind. Most of the time, signals like these were ignored. The outer sectors were dangerous. Planets were labeled as uninhabitable for humans, and ships venturing there were often lost without a trace. But something about this call was different. It pulled at the part of him that refused to turn away from a life in danger. A few hours later, the United Earth Fleet convened a meeting to discuss the strange signal. The room was filled with officers and analysts, all debating the wisdom of sending a crew into an unknown and possibly hostile region. Captain Lucas Hayes, a man in his late 40s with sharp eyes and a steady voice, presided over the discussion. "Command," one officer said. "Our sensors indicate the signal comes from a system with extreme radiation belts. It's labeled as uninhabitable. The last missions we sent near this area never returned." Captain Hayes leaned forward. "I understand the risks, but we also have to consider the possibility of intelligent life in danger. If it is alive, we can't just ignore it. What do we know about the signal? It's unique." Lily's voice came from the communications console. "It has patterns we can detect. There's fear, urgency, maybe even pain encoded in the frequency. It doesn't match any language we know. But the intent is clear. They are asking for help." A murmur ran through the room. Some officers frowned. Some shook their heads. It was unusual to send humans into a system deemed deadly. But Captain Hayes's eyes were firm. "We're humans," he said quietly. "We survive places others can't. That's who we are. We answer calls for help. Always. Prepare a small response vessel. Send a crew we trust. I want to know who or what is sending this signal." Within hours, the starbound Echo was ready. It was a medium-sized exploration vessel, equipped with the latest sensors, shields, and survival modules. The crew was a mix of explorers, scientists, and marines, humans, designed to survive even the harshest worlds. Among them were Evan Brooks and Lily Carter, now selected for the mission that could change everything. As they launched from Horizon Relay, the stars stretched into long streaks around them, the engines of the starbound Echo humming steadily. Evan stood by the observation window, staring into the void. The thought of an intelligent life form out there, desperate and alone, made his heart race. "Do you think they'll survive until we get there?" he asked quietly. Lily joined him, leaning on the railing. I don't know. But we'll do everything we can. That's what humans do. The journey was long and tense. Every day, the crew monitored the signal, tracing its irregular patterns across the system. Days became nights without rest, and the emptiness of space pressed down on everyone. Crew members whispered about the stories of ships lost in the outer sectors, of explorers never returning. But there was also a quiet determination in the air. Humans had always faced impossible odds. That was what made them different. One evening, as the starbound Echo approached the coordinates of the distress signal, alarms suddenly blared. Red lights filled the cabin, and the crew rushed to their stations. "What is it?" Captain Hayes shouted over the noise. Sensors showed a massive field of debris orbiting a dying star. Burnt-out ships, broken satellites, and fragments of structures floated in the void. It was a graveyard. "Looks like some kind of battle." Lieutenant Aaron Price, the tactical officer, said grimly. "Whatever was here didn't survive unscathed." Evan's stomach turned. The thought of anyone still alive seemed impossible. But then the signal pulsed again, fainter now, but unmistakable. Someone was still calling for help. "They're alive," Lily whispered, her eyes wide. "We have to find them before it's too late." Captain Hayes nodded. "Prepare an approach. Shields up. Sensors maxed. I don't want any surprises. And get ready for anything. Remember, this is not a rescue in friendly territory." As the starbound Echo descended into the debris field, the crew saw it clearly. A crippled vessel, smaller than theirs, with parts of its hull melted or torn away. The life signs were faint, but there, someone or something was still alive inside. Evan's hands shook slightly as he operated the scanning module. "They're fragile. Very fragile. Human or alien. I can't tell yet. But their vital signs are weak. They've been through a lot." Lily placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we move carefully. One step at a time. That's all we can do." The crew suited up, marine units ready with weapons, and scientists prepared for medical emergencies. The docking bay extended its robotic arms to secure the alien vessel. Slowly, carefully, the starbound Echo attached itself. Inside the alien ship, the atmosphere was thin, the lights flickering weakly. The crew moved cautiously, scanning for life and dangers. It was then that they first saw them. Delicate beings, almost translucent, their skin glowing faintly in the dim light. Their eyes were wide with fear, and they shrank back instinctively. "Do not be afraid," Captain Hayes said calmly, raising his hand slightly to show peace. "We are here to help." Evan and Lily worked quickly, monitoring vital signs and stabilizing the injured beings. Their technology allowed them to create a safe environment inside the alien vessel. Slowly, the beings began to relax. Though they still looked at the humans with cautious awe, one of the fragile beings, smaller than the rest, stepped forward, trembling. Its voice was soft, melodic, almost musical, and a translator device on the starbound Echo tried to interpret it. The words were broken but clear. "Why? You come? We thought only monsters." Evan exchanged a glance with Lily. "Monsters?" he repeated softly. "Humans," the translator finished. "They think humans are monsters because of where they live. They call Earth Deathworld. They never expected anyone from Deathworld to answer a call for help." Lily's eyes widened. "They've heard of humans? And they think we're monsters?" "Yes," the translator confirmed. Captain Hayes smiled faintly. "Humans survive what others cannot. That's true. But we also help. That's what makes us more than monsters." Evan looked around at the fragile beings, still trembling but alive. He felt a strange pride mixed with awe. These beings had sent a call into the void, and humans had answered. They were not supposed to survive the outer sectors, but humans did not leave anyone behind, even in the most dangerous places. As the starbound Echo prepared to bring the alien vessel back to a safer orbit, Evan felt a sense of wonder he had never felt before. The universe was vast and full of dangers, But for the first time, he realized that humans were capable of changing the course of someone's life, even across the stars. And somewhere, deep in space, a small race of fragile beings would never forget the day Deathworlders came answering a desperate call. The starbound Echo hovered silently above the debris field, its shields glowing faintly in the dim light of the dying star. Inside the alien vessel, the fragile beings moved slowly, still cautious but beginning to trust the humans who had come so far to help them. Evan Brooks and Lily Carter worked tirelessly to stabilize the weak life signs, while Captain Lucas Hayes coordinated efforts between the starbound Echo and the damaged ship. "This is incredible," Lily whispered as she monitored the fragile beings' vitals. "Their biology. It's so different from anything we've seen. Their bodies are delicate, almost translucent, and their bones are light but strong in strange ways. Even their breathing is unusual." Evan nodded. "They must be adapted to a world we can't even imagine. But they're alive because we answered their call. That's all that matters right now." One of the beings, slightly taller than the others, stepped forward and looked at the humans with a mix of fear and hope. The translator device clicked and whirred before producing a voice that sounded almost musical. "Why you help? We," thought Deathworlders, "only destroy." Captain Hayes smiled gently. "We survive harsh worlds. That is true. But we do not destroy without reason. We help those in danger. That is what makes us human." The alien being tilted its head, studying the humans. It spoke slowly, carefully. "We, Solari, our people, attacked Draken destroyers. We only escape." Evan's stomach tightened. He had heard stories of brutal alien empires, but the thought of a species fleeing for its life made his mission feel heavier. "Draken?" he asked. "They're the ones who attacked you?" The Solari nodded weakly. "Yes. Draken come. Take all. Kill those who ally with Deathworlders. We survive by hiding." Captain Hayes turned to his crew. "We need to get them to a safe location. This system is too dangerous. There may be more Draken patrols nearby." The starbound Echo began to lift the alien vessel with robotic arms, carefully maneuvering it away from the debris field. Every movement was cautious, every calculation precise. The fragile beings watched, some reaching out a hand to touch the human's shoulders, their way of showing trust. During the journey back to a safer orbit, Dr. Nora Bennett, the ship's biologist, examined the Solari more closely. "They are fascinating," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "Their bodies are delicate, but their immune systems are highly efficient. They can survive radiation and toxins that would kill us in minutes. But their physical structure is fragile. They were never meant to fight or endure harsh physical trauma." Evan looked at the Solari, who were resting quietly in the ship's medical bay. "They'll need more than healing. They'll need protection, and we'll give it to them." As the humans worked, a sudden alarm blared across the starbound Echo. Red lights flashed, and the ship shook slightly. "Incoming vessels!" Lieutenant Aaron Price shouted from the tactical station. "Draken ships. They're fast and heavily armed." Captain Hayes immediately issued orders. "Shields up. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. Marines, get ready to defend. Scientists and medics, stay in the safe zone. We protect the Solari at all costs." The Draken ships appeared on the main screen, dark and menacing against the backdrop of stars. Their hulls were jagged, with weapons that glowed ominously. They had expected easy prey, perhaps thinking the starbound Echo was just another exploration vessel. They had no idea who they were facing. Sergeant Cole Ramirez, leader of the Marine unit, grinned. "Time to show them why humans survive places no one else can. They're in for a surprise." The starbound Echo darted through the debris field, using every fragment as cover. The Draken fired relentlessly, but the human ship was nimble. Evan's hands flew over the controls, scanning for weak points in the enemy formation. Lily coordinated with the ship's shields, reinforcing them where the Draken's weapons hit hardest. "Captain," Lieutenant Price said, pointing at the screen, "they're trying to separate us from the Solari vessel. That's their strategy. They want to capture or destroy it." Captain Hayes clenched his jaw. "Not on my watch. Full escort formation. Keep them close. Use the environment. Don't let them touch the Solari." The battle raged on, but humans were nothing if not adaptable. Sergeant Ramirez led a boarding team in zero-gravity combat, entering one of the Draken ships with grappling lines. The Draken were strong, but they had not faced creatures who had survived harsher worlds than their own. Humans fought with creativity, using the ship's layout, zero-gravity physics, and simple improvisation to their advantage. Meanwhile, the Solari watched from the starbound Echo, their fear slowly turning into awe. They had never seen beings willing to risk their lives for others. Their culture had warned them of Deathworlders creatures too strong, too dangerous to trust, but now they saw humans acting without fear or hesitation to save them. Evan fired a makeshift ion pulse at one of the Draken ships, causing it to spin uncontrollably. "Take that!" he shouted, feeling a mix of relief and adrenaline. Lily grinned from her station. They didn't expect humans to fight like this. Nobody does. Despite being outnumbered, the humans continued to defend the Solari vessel. Every move was calculated but bold. They exploited the environment, using the debris as cover, their small size as an advantage, and their knowledge of extreme survival to outmaneuver the Draken. After hours of tense engagement, the Draken finally began to retreat. Their ships were damaged, some barely able to move, and they realized they were facing creatures who fought not just to survive, but to protect. The idea of humans as monsters was clearly challenged. Captain Hayes contacted the starbound Echo. "They're retreating. We've got them on the run, but we can't let our guard down. They'll be back." Sergeant Ramirez returned from the boarding mission, slightly bruised but smiling. "They underestimated us. Big mistake." The Solari gathered, their voices soft but filled with gratitude. The translator conveyed their words slowly. "You, humans, we never thought. You come, you fight, you save. We, thank you." Evan nodded, feeling the weight of their words. "You're welcome. It's what we do. Humans survive. Yes. But we also protect. That's who we are." Dr. Bennett moved closer to the Solari, examining them with care. "They'll need time to recover, not just physically, but emotionally. They've seen horrors, and now they're witnessing something they never believed existed. Kindness from Deathworlders," Lily added. "They'll remember this day, and maybe it will change how they see humans. We're dangerous, yes, but we're not monsters. We protect life, even when it's not our own." The crew worked tirelessly to stabilize the Solari and prepare the starbound Echo for the next phase of their mission. They knew the Draken would return, stronger and more determined, but for now, they had won a reprieve. The fragile beings they had rescued were alive, and for the first time in their lives, they felt safe. Captain Hayes looked around at his crew, pride evident in his eyes. "This is why we survive. Not just for ourselves, not just for Earth, but for anyone who calls out for help. That's our strength. That's our way." As the starbound Echo moved to a safer orbit, Evan reflected on the events of the past hours. Humans had come answering a call from a species that never expected anyone from Deathworld to help. They had fought and survived against overwhelming odds, not for glory, but because it was the right thing to do. The Solari, once terrified and alone, now looked at humans with a mixture of awe and trust. They had never imagined beings could be strong and dangerous, yet choose to protect the weak. This lesson, the humans realized, was more powerful than any weapon. As the starbound Echo drifted through space, the crew prepared for the next challenge. The Draken were still out there, and the galaxy was far from safe, but humans had proven that even in the most dangerous worlds, they would not turn away from a call for help. They were Deathworlders, yes, but they were also guardians, warriors, and protectors. Evan watched the Solari quietly, their fragile forms beginning to recover under human care. Somewhere deep in space, a small race of beings was learning a lesson they would never forget. Deathworlders fight, survive, and protect, even when others expect them to do only one thing: destroy. And in that moment, Evan knew that humanity's story among the stars had only just begun. The starbound Echo moved cautiously through the outer edges of the system, carrying the fragile Solari with care. The crew knew the Draken Imperium would not give up easily. Their retreat had been temporary, a tactical withdrawal, and every human on the ship understood that the next encounter would be more dangerous. Captain Lucas Hayes gathered his crew in the command center, the dim light of distant stars casting long shadows across the room. "We know they'll be back," he said calmly. "The Draken are aggressive and ruthless. They think we're just another prey species. But we're not. We survive worlds they could never imagine. We fight, and we protect. This is what we do. We do not run." Sergeant Cole Ramirez nodded, his hands resting on the console. "They'll learn that the hard way, Doctor." Nora Bennett looked concerned. "Captain, the Solari are still weak. They can barely move without assistance. If we face the Draken again, we need a plan that keeps them safe. They were never built for combat." Evan Brooks stepped forward. "We can't hide forever. The Draken will follow eventually. If we want the Solari to survive, we need to fight on our terms, not theirs." Lily Carter adjusted the ship's sensors, eyes sharp. "I've been scanning the debris field. We can use it as bait. We know their ships avoid heavy radiation zones. We can lure them into the debris, where our ship's maneuverability will be an advantage." Captain Hayes smiled faintly. "Good. That's the plan. We'll protect the Solari, and we'll show the Draken that humans are not just survivors, we are fighters. Prepare for combat. Marines, get ready. Everyone else, stay alert. We move in 1 hour." The crew worked tirelessly, adjusting shields, reinforcing hulls, and preparing weapons. The Solari watched with wide eyes, unsure of what humans were planning, but trusting them completely. They had learned that humans fought not for glory but to protect others, and that trust gave the fragile beings a strength they did not know they had. As the starbound Echo approached the designated zone, the Draken appeared again. Their ships glowed with menacing red light, jagged edges cutting through the darkness. They expected an easy ambush, but the humans had a different plan. Captain Hayes commanded, "Deploy decoys. Draw them into the debris field. Keep the Solari safe." Evan activated the ship's drones, small but fast craft that mimicked the starbound Echo's signature. The Draken, thinking they had found the main vessel, followed aggressively into the debris. Laser beams streaked through space, striking rocks and broken hulls as the humans waited for the perfect moment. "Now!" Captain Hayes shouted. The starbound Echo twisted sharply, darting between large pieces of debris, using the human ship's agility to outmaneuver the larger, heavier Draken vessels. Sergeant Ramirez led a small team in a zero-gravity boarding maneuver, gliding silently along grappling lines to attach explosives to the enemy ships. The Draken were strong and vicious, but they had not faced opponents so creative or fearless. Evan monitored the situation, adjusting shields to protect the Solari vessel. "They're trying to flank us," he shouted. "Shields up! Left side reinforced." Lily worked at the controls, redirecting energy to the side under attack. "Done. They're hitting hard. But we're holding." The Solari watched, their fear slowly turning into admiration. They had never seen such bravery, such courage in the face of impossible odds. Humans fought with ingenuity, using the environment, their knowledge of survival, and sheer determination. They were dangerous, yes, but their goal was clear: to protect life, not destroy it. One of the Draken ships managed to get close to the Solari vessel, firing its weapons in a deadly pattern. Captain Hayes didn't hesitate. "Target it. Fire everything we have." The human weapon struck true, disabling the Draken's engines and sending it tumbling into a nearby asteroid. Explosions lit up the darkness, reflecting in the wide eyes of the Solari. Evan felt a surge of relief. They didn't expect this, he muttered. Nobody does. Sergeant Ramirez returned from the boarding operation, a grin on his face despite bruises. They're scared now. They've realized humans fight differently. They survive where others die, and they protect those who can't defend themselves. Dr. Bennett approached a small group of Solari. You're safe for now, she said softly. You can breathe, rest, and heal. Humans will not let them harm you. The Solari, for the first time since their attack, felt something they had not known in years. Hope. Their lives, once full of fear and constant danger, now had a chance to continue, and they knew it was because of the humans who had answered a call in the void. Hours passed, and the Draken retreated, badly damaged but still alive. Captain Hayes knew this was not the end. They would return, perhaps stronger. But the humans had proven something important. Strength alone was not enough to survive. Humans had courage, creativity, and a willingness to risk everything for others. That was a power no one could underestimate. Evan and Lily worked tirelessly to stabilize the Solari, preparing them for the journey home. They'll survive, Evan said quietly. We've done everything we can. Lily nodded, watching the fragile beings. They'll remember this. And maybe one day, they'll tell others what humans are capable of, not just how we survive, but how we protect. Captain Hayes called the crew together. Listen up. This mission was dangerous. Yes. But we succeeded. We saved lives that no one else would have risked. The Solari are alive because humans answered a call that nobody else dared to answer. Remember that. This is what sets us apart. This is who we are. The Solari gathered around, their translator device working to convey their gratitude. You humans, we never expected. You fight. You survive. And you protect. We thank you. You are Deathworlders, yes. But not monsters. Evan felt a lump in his throat. The Solari had seen what humans were capable of, and they had changed their perception forever. Humans were not just survivors of harsh worlds. They were guardians, protectors, and fighters for those who could not defend themselves. As the starbound Echo set course for a safe orbit, Captain Hayes spoke to the crew quietly. The Draken will come back, but we will be ready. We have shown them what humans can do. We fight, we survive, and we protect. That is our legacy. Evan watched the Solari as they began to recover. Their small hands reached out, touching the humans' shoulders in thanks. The gesture was simple, but it spoke volumes. The Solari would never forget this day, the day Deathworlders came answering a desperate call. Days later, in the quiet of the ship, Lily spoke softly to Evan. Do you realize what we've done? We've changed their entire understanding of the universe. They thought Deathworlders were monsters. Now they know we are protectors too. Evan nodded, looking out at the stars. Yes. And that's just the beginning. There are countless beings out there who might need help. And we'll answer. That's what humans do. That's what we're meant to do. Captain Hayes entered the observation deck, his gaze on the distant stars. Every time we answer a call, every life we save, we leave a mark. The universe will remember humans, not for conquest, not for power, but for courage, ingenuity, and compassion. That is our true strength. The Solari approached him, their translator device clicking. We want alliance. We see humans protect life. We join you, if we can. Together. Strong. Captain Hayes smiled, a rare warmth in his eyes. We accept. Humans fight for life. And we fight alongside those who are willing to protect it too. Welcome to the Alliance. The starbound Echo continued its journey through the stars, carrying humans and Solari alike. The Draken Imperium still lurked somewhere in the darkness. But the humans were ready. They had survived impossible odds, saved the helpless, and proven that even the deadliest worlds could not break their spirit. Evan Brooks watched the Solari learning from humans, adapting, and beginning to trust. They'll spread the story. he said quietly. The universe will know about humans, not just as survivors, but as protectors. Lily nodded. Yes. And maybe that will change everything. Maybe other species will see us not as monsters, but as allies. Captain Hayes placed a hand on Evan's shoulder. They already do. And one day, every corner of the galaxy will understand. We survive. We fight. We protect. That is what makes us human. The starbound Echo moved forward, leaving the debris field behind, carrying hope and a new alliance. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. But humans were ready. They had answered a call in the void and changed the fate of a fragile species. They were Deathworlders, yes, but they were also guardians, and wherever danger appeared, humans would answer the call. Somewhere, deep in space, the Solari would tell their story. They would speak of humans who survived worlds too harsh to imagine, who fought enemies without fear, and who protected those weaker than themselves. And through their words, the legend of the Deathworlders would spread not as monsters, but as heroes. And the humans aboard the starbound Echo, tired but triumphant, knew that this was only the beginning. The universe had countless calls for help, and humans would answer every one of them. They had proven that courage, ingenuity, and compassion were more powerful than weapons, and that the spirit of a Deathworlder could never be broken. Evan Brooks, watching the stars, whispered quietly to himself, "We survive. We protect. We answer the call. That is who we are. And no one will ever forget it." The starbound Echo sailed on, carrying humans and Solari toward a brighter future, ready for whatever dangers awaited them in the vast, infinite darkness of space.